Profile share via email report story. Soon enough, they reach the island and dock the ship. Okay, we should see who is to stay and guard the ship and who. Sanji didn't even get to finish his phrase as he saw his captain launch himself on the island. This is going to be a long day. I'm going after him. Zoro was the first one to offer as he couldn't wait to get off of the ship for a few hours and restock his sake supplies. Hold it right there. Nami stopped him and she walked towards him. I'll come with you. There's no way you will be able to find him and you'll only give us more trouble by getting lost. Also, I have to return this to him, she thought while touching the straw hat that was still in her possession. Then, I'll go and buy some food and ingredients. Frankie, would you come help me? Sanji said as he was ready to jump off. You can SUUPER count on me. I need to buy medicine and look for some herbs. I also want to go to the bookstore. That'd sound nice, Robin smiled. And so, everyone except for Brook and Usopp left the ship, heading to different locations. Not that way, you idiot. Asterisk. It's already been an hour since Nami and Zoro went looking for Luffy. Zoro got lost in the first half of hour. Well, it was pretty impressive that he managed to stay put that long anyway. That until Nami took her eyes off of him for a second. The next thing she knew was that she was alone in the forest. She decided to take a break as she was walking for some time now. She took the hat off of her head and held it tight, smiling a bit when thinking of the events that took place earlier that day. Her cheeks caught a nice shade of red when she thought of how cute Luffy was after he almost kissed her. It was the first time she saw him blushing, and his innocence made him look like a child that was caught stealing candy. As she was holding the hat at her chest, she saw a huge bug walk in front of her. It had the size of her palm and was shining purple. Luffy would certainly like this one, she giggled as she picked it up. She wasn't one to be good with bugs. Oh, not even one bit, but when picturing the smiling face with sparkly eyes of her captain at the sight of the bug, she thought it was worth it. God damn it. Since when am I so into his obsessions? Despite that thought, she continued smiling and didn't throw the bug away. She really wanted Luffy to see it. I should really be worried about Zoro as he might never be able to get out of this forest all by himself, so after I'll find Luffy, we'll have to go look for the other dumbass. Unbelievable. She said as she ironically laughed. The captain in his right hand, the biggest idiots ever. She stood up and continued walking the path she saw Luffy take, while slowly singing a song she would remember from her childhood. I'd rather be a sparrow than a snail, yes I would if I could, I surely would. Away, I'd rather sail away like a swan that's here and gone. A man gets tied up to the ground, he gives the world its saddest sound, its saddest sound. Promoted stories. You'll also like Water Pillar, One Piece X Reader. 4.7K 149. As the Strafuts sail across the sea in hopes of reaching Alabasta to stop a civil war, they come across an island. An island not found in any maps. In this island stand, erased One Piece X Modern. Reader, 1M48.7K. DESC, in which a heavy One Piece fan ends up in the world they adored so much. What kind of ways will they contribute to the story? Find out. Warning. Masker Shadow, One Piece. Fanfic. OC. 3799. A girl who was born in the world and neglected by her family, and constant bad childhood experience and bullied led the girl into hatred of pirates, loathing them and Beck. Luffy's jealousy. 73.1K 1.5K. Pairings. Luffy x Nami. What if the infamous Mugiwara crew docked on an unknown island? What if Nami had forgot Luffy's death? 9.8K 163. This is life for every person who has a specific time to live, but sometimes life is unfair in estimating lifespans. Evil people take longer lives than good people, but Starlight Heart Trafalgar Law X Reader 6.7K101. The photo goes to all the rightful owners. You lost your crew, but Law was there to save you and helped you recover. You finally met Law once again. You didn't wanna be. Pirate Nurse Heart One Piece X Reader Disconti 228K 6.3K. Shy Reader X opt slight yandere and will include others, but YN's main interest is the ASL Brothers Carrot Carrot, my first book ever, so will have mistakes. Characters will. She stopped, though, when she heard a well-known voice, singing something about island's weather and the people being all stupid. She followed the oh-so enchanting voice of her captain and found him casually walking, swinging a stick around. Nami. He smiled when he saw his friend and started heading towards her, but he became reserved in gestures when he remembered what happened not too long ago. He thought that she might feel uncomfortable around him now anyway. He gained back his confidence when he saw her smile and place the hat back on his head. You sure gave us some trouble. She was trying to sound upset, but really, that situation wasn't bothering her one bit. And now Zoro got lost too, because he just had to come look for you. Nami, I'm hungry, Luffy cried as he placed his hands on his growling stomach. We can't eat just yet. I'm sorry Luffy, but Zoro might never be able to even get out of the forest, so. She was cut off by the mini Den Den Mushi that started ringing. Nami-san, Sanji's voice could be heard from the little snail. Wasn't Zoro supposed to be with you? Yeah, but, hey, you see, he got lost, the orange-haired girl answered while awkwardly scratching the back of her neck. That ain't front-page news, Sanji laughed. What did you say, you shitty cook? Shut up, you imbecile. I'm talking to Nami-san here. I see that you met up with him, Nami said, happy that she didn't have to look for the other idiot too. Did you find Luffy? Yeah, he's right here. I'll say you at the ship, but first we are going to a restaurant, she said, making Luffy grin happily. As soon as she hung up, she lifted her hand, showing Luffy that bug she found earlier. I thought you'd give everything to see this one, she smiled. That's so cool, Tilda, Luffy said, a little bit too excited as his eyes turned to stars and he took the bug from Nami's hand to look at it better. I've never seen one like this before, he grinned. Thanks a lot, I'm keeping this guy. Nami couldn't help but smile. Even though she didn't find anything special at that bug, the feeling of making Luffy so happy filled her own heart with joy. Well, then, let's go and find a good restaurant. Food. Oi, Luffy, the way out of the forest is in the other way. And with that, they started walking towards the town that was now not too far from them. Or so Nami hoped. Asterisk. Luffy was stuffing his mouth full, making Nami be sorry for saying that she'll do him a one-in-a-lifetime favor and pay the bills. Oi, Nami, this meat is great. You really have to try it too. No thanks, I'll stay with my salad. If there was one of the things she learned from Sanji, it was how to keep her body healthy. But still, I'm worried about GNED. Luffy barely spoke because of all the food in his mouth. GNED, did you already forget, Nami? He pouted, somehow disappointed. The bug you gave me. And how the hell was I supposed to know you named it GNED? Nami defended herself while placing two fingers on her forehead. That stupid guy. Oh, that's right, he grinned. Shishishi, I forgot to tell you. So, what do you say? Great name, huh? Yeah, but you said you were worried. Because I left him outside of the restaurant as I wouldn't be allowed in with him. What if someone takes him away? What if he will leave? We'll see of that when we finish eating. But I'm done already. Nami looked at his huge, once full plate and she sighed as she let the money on the table and took Luffy out. So, where did you put Gned? He's gone. He was right here. I can remember I put him in this very spot. See, I even made a mark on the ground. Luffy frowned deeply. He really wanted to keep that bug. Now Luffy, don't be like that. We'll go and look for another one, okay? But I don't want another one. I wanted that one in particular because you gave it to me, he said, making Nami freeze for a moment. Is that why you wanted to keep it so much? She asked, trying to slow her heartbeat down. Yeah, I'm sorry, Nami. You went through all the trouble to bring it to me and now it's gone. And I know you hate bugs. Nami was trying to slow her heart down before, but now it had stopped completely. How did he know she hated bugs? Never has she ever mentioned that to him or anyone else on the ship. She smiled almost instantly and her figure softened as she spoke. It's fine, Luffy. I'm just glad you got to see it. Is it really fine? Her captain looked at her with big, adorable eyes, making it almost impossible for her to hold back from hugging him close. Almost. Because in the exact moment she stepped towards him to hug him, she felt an unusual smell. This isn't good. There's a huge storm coming, she said as she took out baby Den Den Mushi and called Usopp and Brook who were on the ship. Brook, take the Sunny in a safe place right now. There's a huge, dangerous storm coming. Did the others make it at the ship? Yeah, they're all here. What about you and Luffy-san? He asked as he started moving the Sunny, just as told. There'll be no time left for us to take the ship to safety if you wait for us to get there. We'll find shelter on the island after we warn the people in the town, too. I got it. Make sure to find a safe place soon. I'll handle the Sunny, Brook said as he hung up. All right. Luffy, let's go in. She stopped as she turned around. Luffy wasn't there anymore, and at a time like that, too. Nami didn't lose another moment and she started running, looking for Luffy for the second time that day. As she was running, she was shouting and telling the people to take shelter as soon as possible. The wind was already pretty strong when she reached the other side of the town and Luffy was still nowhere to be found. She looked around, desperate. She was already out of ideas. Where could she look next? She was at least relieved that there was no one left on the streets. The chairs that were left outside were almost flying because of the strong wind, but Nami kept walking and calling Luffy's name. I have to find him quick. Before the storm gets stronger. Luffy, she shouted as loud as she could, hoping that she could cover the sound of the howling wind. She turned around at 180 degrees after hearing a noise just to see one of those chairs fly towards her. She followed her first instinct that made her close her eyes and wait for the impact. But all she could feel was a hand that wrapped around her waist and pulled her to a warm chest. She opened her eyes and looked at the chair that was now on the ground only 3 feet away. She rested her forehead on his chest and didn't move for a few minutes. You got me scared to death, you know. She wasn't yelling, nor was she scolding him. She was just relieved that he was fine. Where have you been? I found us a good place to stay during the storm, Luffy said, grinning proudly. I thought that if it's about a storm this big, taking shelter in town wouldn't be safe enough, he then added as he lifted Nami up and started running towards the forest. Wait a second, Luffy. Are you really planning to hide in the forest? You know, during a storm like this, most of the trees will be brought down. We'd be in greater danger there. Don't you trust me, Nami? I'd never expose you to danger. He was serious as he spoke, so Nami nodded and kept her mouth shut for the rest of the time. Soon enough, they went out of the forest and found themselves on a cliff. Looking down, all you could see was an extremely tall stone wall. There wasn't any sand, Only water. If they were to fall down at a time like that, they would be dead as Nami wasn't strong enough to swim in those currents carrying Luffy in the back. Down on the stone wall, a few feet from them, was a hole. Nami assumed it was a cave. Suddenly, her eyes widened in shock. Luffy, you don't seriously plan to hide the... Before she could finish her phrase, Luffy jumped off of the cliff using his stretching arm as a rope, and before they knew it, they were in the cave. They were high enough so the waves couldn't reach them, so if the cave didn't collapse, they should be safe. I have to admit, Luffy, you thought this one out well. It's perfect. All except for the wind that's blowing right in our face, Nami said as she hugged herself, hoping to get warmer in the least bit. Nami, are you cold? Luffy didn't even wait for an answer before he wrapped his arms around her and hugged her. Is that better? Why yeah, Nami said while burying her face in his chest to hide her blush, thing that made Luffy's heart skip a beat. He couldn't hold back from hugging even tighter as he placed his hat on her head. But I just gave it back to you. I don't mind not wearing it if it's you that's holding it. The raven-haired boy grinned, bringing a smile on Nami's face, who then let her head rest on Luffy's chest. It was so weird, she really wasn't cold anymore. That's it guys. I hope you enjoyed this one and I'll see ya next time. Equals greater than. Where stories live. Discover now.